Fancy sewing a skirt like this in any size? It's quick and it's easy.
I'm Linda from Sew and Bee Fabrics. Let me show you how to whip up your own pattern so you can sew along with me.
All we need are a couple of measurements to start, around the waist and how long you want your skirt to be.
Let's make the pattern now.
I started with the waist measurement and added about 10 centimetres or 4 inches. That's plenty for most sizes of children and adults to wiggle around in and get on and off easily. But if you're making a plus size fit or you just want some more gathers at the top, I'd add an extra 5 centimetres or a couple more inches. Then I took that number and divided it by 6, and that was my top measurement sorted. I drew that here with my seam allowance added on either end. I went with around 1 centimetre. Next, I drew a line straight down at each end, 7 centimetres long. That's about 2 3/4 inches to make a rectangle for the elastic casing. From the bottom of that, I measured down the centre the length I wanted the skirt to be.
Easy enough so far, right?
Then I took that top measurement before I added the seam allowance, multiplied it by 2.5, that out in the centre of the bottom of the pattern. Added back on the seam allowance, then I just joined those ends up diagonally to the top rectangle, and there's the sides of the skirt drawn.
Just the bottom to finish now.
I drew straight down from those bottom points by a couple of centimetres or about an inch. Adding that straight bit at the bottom makes the hem easier to sew later. There, now it's done. Then I cut out my pattern 6 times in cotton fabric, 3 in one pattern, 3 in another, so it adds a bit more fun with the colours. I've paired up my blue panels with my pink ones, right side together, keeping them the same way around, so the colours will alternate nicely when they're put together.
All right, on to my favourite part. Come sew it now.
I'm starting out by joining the panels together down the long sides, right from the top to the bottom, with a quick back stitch at each end to keep that stitching secure. Here's a little trick I love to use all the time. When I get to the end, I like to chain sew my pieces together like this. That's just sewing one seam right after another without snipping the thread in between. Then I quickly cut them apart later and it speeds things up a treat. Cotton's so easy to work with and I'm loving these Tula pink patterns, so I couldn't resist using them. But if you fancy a skirt that swirls and twirls even more than this, you might want to try a lighter fabric like rayon. Once each of those have been stitched, I take one pair for the centre and clip it to a pair on either side. Then I'm sewing them together in exactly the same way, so now I've got all 6 panels joined together in one long line. Then it's just a case of bringing the 2 end panels together, and look, there's my skirt shape. A quick stitch down that seam too, and that's the basic shape of the skirt already done. I like to finish those raw edges after. Cotton can fray a bit, so I'm using an overcast foot to zigzag over those edges on the seams to strengthen them up. This foot has a special bar that helps the stitches to form, so I can easily sew right over the edge of the fabric. If you've got a serger, you'll probably want to whip that out to do these seams instead. Or if you're just using a normal foot, sewing a zigzag stitch just inside the seam allowance works well too. Now let's tackle the bottom hem. I've popped on a 1/2 inch hem foot and I'm folding the edge twice to about the width of the guide so the raw edge is hidden in the middle. I'm finger pressing it in place to help hold its position while I put the foot on top and add a couple of stitches to secure it. Now I can hook the fabric into the guide and off I go, stitching all the way around. It doesn't matter where on the hem I start, but I find it easiest to begin away from the seam. Seams are a bit more prone to shifting and they might need a bit more help guiding through the hemming foot. So if your fabric's on the thicker side, you might want to trim the seam allowance at the hem first so it doesn't get stuck in the foot. Or if it's tricky, I just pop it out of the guide to go over the seam, stitch on top of it like I did to secure at the start, then slide it straight back into the guide once I'm clear again. This foot is perfect for speeding up long hemlines. With no prep needed, I can just feed the fabric into the guide as I go. But if I haven't got one handy, I'd just fold, press, clip that bottom hem in place before sewing. When I'm nearly back to the start, I slide the last bit out of the guide, then I can pop it back underneath the foot, and a few more stitches will finish it off. With a quick press after, that's the bottom of the skirt looking good already.
Just the top of the skirt to finish now.
I'm using 2.5 centimetre or 1 inch wide elastic for my waistband. By folding the fabric down by 3.5 centimetres, that's about 1 1/3 inches twice, that raw edge gets tucked away in a nice little tunnel. And it's a smidge wider than the elastic, so there's just enough space for the movement around the stitching. I'm giving it a quick hot press to help it all stay put while I sew. Then I'm starting out again with a back stitch to keep it secure and stitching along the bottom edge of the tunnel. As I'm coming back around to where I started, I'm leaving a gap at the end wide enough to be able to easily thread the elastic through after. Now I like to top stitch around my waistband too. By sewing all the way around the top edge, I find it helps to stop the elastic rolling around inside when it's being worn. I've got a safety pin on one end of the elastic, then I've got something easy to grab through the casing to pass around. I also like to put a chunky clip on the other end so I can't accidentally pull it inside. I find my elastic lines up best if I try to keep it as flat as I can as I pull it through. The elastic I've got is pretty sturdy and I wanted some growing room, so I've cut it to the waist measurement. But if the elastic was stretchier, or if I didn't need buffet or growing room, I'd probably want it a touch shorter. Best thing to do? I like to test it around the waist first, see if it feels snug enough to hold the weight of the skirt. The lighter the fabric is, the looser the elastic can be. Then, giving it a little pull to spread the fabric and making sure there's no twists in the elastic, the ends are ready to join. I like to flatten the ends down after and stitch them on either side so it can't bunch up and make a lumpy spot. I like to sew it as a zigzag in a square all the way round, and then it can move easier as it stretches. Then I just wiggle the fabric around to pull the elastic into the casing, and all that's left now is to stitch up that little gap. I hate a twisted waistband, so I also like to add a few extra stitches over the elastic at the sides of the skirt, right on the seam line. Then the stitching's hidden, but the elastic's going to be held straight. There, now it's done. All ready to wear and twirl around in.
I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have a go at making one, do show me how it comes out. If you enjoyed it, I would be really grateful if you could give us a like. Don't forget you can follow us as well, and I'll be back again for more soon. Bye now.